Hey everyone, this is Kyle once again, aka Jurassic Godzilla fan. Welcome back to another review. And now for this time, I'm gonna review another favorite horror film that I really do love. And I would say is and this film is a remake, but it's from the 80s. And I would say it's my second favorite, my second favorite all-time favorite horror film remake. And this time I'm reviewing the 1988 remake of The Blob. The Blob is the 1998 remake of the original. 1988 was 30 years after the original The Blob, starring Steve McQueen. Now, with the old, for a quick note on the original of The Blob, which I have right here. And I do give credit to when I was a kid. I used to watch this, and I'll be honest, it did scare me for just because how the way the original Blob looks. I'm sure anyone who was young back then who saw this, a few years ago when we were like my age, who saw this, you'd be scared just how the way this kind of Blob moved, I didn't watch it for I didn't watch it years later until I was no longer scared of it anymore. I credit, and then that was so. But I still do enjoy the original Blob though, and I also like because it was the only horror film that Steve McQueen ever starred in. But then 30 years later, they came out with this film. Chuck Russell's The Blob. It was directed by Chuck Russell, who directed the fun Arnold Schwarzenegger film Eraser. Then he directed The Mask with Jim Carrey. And then he directed The Scorpion King with Dwayne Johnson, and he also directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, the Dream Warriors, and he also had his he is also written by he also did the screenplay, and also including Frank Darabont, who directed a few films. He directed he's directed 3 Stephen King films: The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Mist. And who also got started on The Walking Dead. Start on the series of the TV series of Walking Dead. So they both worked together on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, and they also did the work together on this film. And this is just a bare bones DVD. It's just no special features, just a trailer and that's it, And I also watched a review of by Rambo Rap for Life. His review was over an hour long, and he did such a great job on reviewing this film, because this film is just barely I see barely anyone talking about, but I want to give credit to Rambo Rap for Life, Matt. He did a really great job in this review. I really loved it, and we're all not alone of liking this film. So I just want to give a little good thumbs up for him for doing this. And I do agree on a lot of things. They should make a Blu-ray of this. Even though I'm not a fan of Blu-ray, I just like to get this a DVD that has more features with this. With commentaries or the making of. With Chuck Russell or Kevin Dillion or Shawnee Smith, and yeah, so I just want to point that out. And so the film stars Kevin Dillion, who's the younger brother of actor Matt Dillon. His younger brother stars in this, which also going to be in Platoon and the Poseidon the remake. And he also stars Shawnee Smith mostly from the Saw films. Jeffery DeMunn, who was originally in the Walking Dead series as Dale, and he'll spin The Mist, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and also the original The Hitcher. And so there were kind of some similarities to the original film, but there was also a lot of differences from this. At the start of the film, you have in this small town. I forget where what town is, but I don't know what state, but it's called Arborville. And it's a small town, that has not much to do, like there's the high school football game, and also another guy named uh Paul Taylor, played by Donovan Leitch, I think that's last name. He's one of the football players, and he likes Shawnee Smith, who's a cheerleader, and during the football game, it comes to in the woods. You have Kevin Dillion, who's like this high school dropout, and just he attempts to drive his motorcycle across a broken bridge, but his motorcycle malfunctions. He falls in. There's a homeless guy there, and his dog. He sees him falls. He starts clapping, he thought it was pretty funny, and so he takes his car. Goes in town to the garage to get some few parts to fix his bike. And later at night, when the old man is cleaning his cans, he sees it like the original. An old man sees something fall from the sky, and goes and sees it. Then he looks inside. He picks up the same thing picks up with a stick, and he gets caught in his hand. Then he panics, and when he sees Kevin Dillion, he tries to cut his hand off with an hatchet, but then it just absorbs it some more. So, but it ends up getting chasing the road for Shawnee Smith and Donovan Leitch. See him on the road. They bounce him off his car though. He's like, they follow where Brian Flagg, that's Kevin Dillon's character. They meet him on the road too, and they take him to the hospital, where they leave what you think of the Brian Flagg? He's like a punk though, but when he talks to his old man, he's like, "Hey, you take it easy, old dude. These people are gonna fix you. They're gonna fix you up." You say he may look like a punk though, but he does show a little bit of kindness. Okay, he's not at all like a punk, So, but then he leaves because he has no part in it anymore. But as Paul Taylor, that's Donovan Leitch's character, and I forgot what was Shawnee Smith's character's name. God, crap, I forget. But they waved away. But then as Paul looks into one of the rooms, he sees the old man he's all convulsing, like wide eyes. But then he gets the doctor and he sees, as it says, is this a hand injury? And as he lifts the blanket up, half of his body is gone. It's all melted with acid on top of the table, and just left half his body here. It's like that thing on his hand. So I guess it's a little bit different, like I said, with the Blob. I really loved it how they did things a little bit differently than how they did with the Blob. When it dripped, when Paul was trying to make a phone call to the sheriff, and you see it's on the ceiling and it's dripping on the table, and it's seeping into the table, so it can drip when it drips, it's it can drip out acid. So it drips out acid, and he looks up and just falls right on top. And when Shawnee Smith looks at it, he sees him, he's encased in, trying to do this. This is when you get pretty much this on the front cover. This on the front cover right here is pretty much this scene here. And it's really well done effects. That's what I think. For this film, it costs. If I read, it costs around it was a $19 million budget, I believe. And it made $8 million, So once again, another very good film that was a flop. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Lots of great special effects in this film, lots of it, and really well done. That's why I consider this is better than the original, because it did things way more different than the original. I still like the original. With Steve McQueen. But I do say this is what I really love much more better than the original, though. That's what I'm saying. Did things a lot more different than the original, which I really did enjoy. As they say, he's encased in the blob, and she screams, tries to pull him out, then like I said, the blob was like made of also like acid and just tears his arm right off, and as he gets dissolved, his arm's like, and it claims two more victims. Like there was another football guy who was trying to impress this girl, in the car, in their car, and it was just the full so creepy moment, like how she like gets like attacked and like she was like I don't know how to describe it. It's like when those tentacles like wrap around her, she's like all like deflating, and I don't know how to describe it. It's like she's like deflating like a balloon, sort of like. I don't like showing. I don't want to show footage because I should have mentioned this when I first got started on this channel. I'm gonna say right now, I'm not gonna show no footage because how YouTube are so picky about showing footage. So I'm not gonna show any footage on my channel to avoid copyright stuff. So I'm not gonna show no footage. So I would like to, though, but I'm not to. Just avoid those flags, So she gets attacked and he gets dissolved into it too as well. And that's one thing I like about when Taylor's murdered Kevin Dillon's character Brian Flagg, he gets suspected because how he is, but he's like the sheriff thinks he did not do it. He does like a smart thing by letting him go. Showing how smart he is because he's like, Flagg is not a punk, but he ain't no killer. No motive, no evidence, not a drop of blood on him. And I'm always like, if Flagg is like, hey, if you're not talking to the deputy. I know the guy who played the deputy. What I think was his name, Paul Crane. He was one of the bad guys in the original RoboCop. The guy. Edited film, he was in that got dumped in that toxic waste and started melting in front of him. He's the deputy in this film from the original RoboCop. He's talking to Flagg's talking to the deputy. If you're not booking me, I'd like to go. Either way, I want you out of my face. Well, yeah, smartass. Well, I'm in your face. What are you gonna do about it? Just licks it like, ugh. It's like, go ahead, hit me. that was just funny. And then Jeffery DeMunn, the sheriff, shows how how smart he is, because he knows he didn't do it, so he lets him go. Does a smart thing. Then he goes to the diner, and Shawnee Smith meets him there, to ask her if she needs his help, and when she's just like, you're just the same, you put on this big show, you're just like the rest of the people in this town, they're full of shit, Flagg. And Kevin Dillion finds it funny because he's like, how's that for you? It's because I never heard you say the word shit before. Yeah, like I said, got lots of some funny dialogue, in this film too. And then you get this, and the next thing, which I thought was really creepy as well, but also like a well done effect, on this next death. The death of that this guy who thinks there's a clog in the sink, and all of a sudden just pops him, and just grabs him by the face, and just sucks him right down the sink. And it's like, oh man, it's like this is like this film. It's just like really great. This thing shows really interesting ways of killing people rather than the original. That's why I love this film more. Just gets sucked down the drain, and just blood's just spewing out because it's getting crushed by sucking down this drain. And the difference is, the Blob is really, really different. It pops up. It's like this. No, not like the original. It's not just like gel-like, but it's different, and it shoots out tentacles. And it goes much more faster than the original. It moves faster. Then they get in the same where they get in the freezer, it goes into the door, but it doesn't like the cold, so it goes away. Then they get this death of this waitress played by Candy Clark. She's in the telephone booth, and he's trying to get the sheriff, but then you see that Jeffery DeMunn's character is killed, and he's like up against the window, like it's like he's like this, and then like part of his eye just moves away from his face, because it's getting dissolved by the blob, and then again another very creepy death scene, like it just how it breaks into the telephone booth, how it kills the waitress, it's like I don't know how you describe it, it's like how when she gets like when it bursts in, it also she comes like all like all soft and stuff like that, so it's like she breaks in, it's like this, I know that you may find how I did though, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like how she like all of a sudden she just became all mushy, Ugh, that scene still gives me the creeps. Even my brother, he still finds it creepy. I like his reactions. His kids like, ugh, same thing. Ugh, this is like way creepy how they get killed like that. And then there's a reverend played by Del Close, which Del Close he was in the sequel to the original Blob called Beware the Blob. He was one of the farmers in there, but then this time he plays as a reverend. He sees the Blob goes in the sewer, but he goes back into the restaurant where the freezer is, and he sees like particle pieces of it, and he puts it in a jar. And then it cuts to Kevin Dillion and Shawnee Smith are walking in the woods, and they get they're not held up, but they meet these people in suits. This guy played by Dr. Meadows played by Joe Cena, I think how the last name is. They think they're just here because they're here because of the thing, and they think it's like a contamination from another world, though. And another great line that Kevin Dillion says is like, "I think this meter brought some kind of a killer germ." Well, your meter brought something, all right, but if it is a germ, it's the biggest son of a bitch you've ever seen. I just really like Kevin Dillion in this film. Especially in the lead, There's hardly ever films after this I've seen him in the lead, so I think this is by far my favorite performance from Kevin Dillion. Even though all him and the other cast in Platoon were great, but I just like him, my favorite in this film. Then there was also like in the original, they're in the movie theater, and which I also like though. I think that the film, that horror film we were watching, I think they just made that for the film, So like a horror film in a horror film, Okay, that was interesting, But but like a Friday the 13th rip-off slasher, But okay, and also like in the projection booth, same thing with the projection booth, but different though. Like this guy, there's no air conditioning, so he looks on the bench, and another guy comes in, and another great effect is when when he looks up and you see the guy, he's like melted right into the thing, it's like all of his body is like all melted into the thing, and then the tentacles grab the guy. Wonderful special effects. I'll say once again. But then with Dr. Mellows, once they give him a ride to town, but Kevin Dillion, he thinks that something's not right, so he stays behind to investigate more as Shawnee Smith goes into town, and she finds out their little brother is not where City Hall is, where everybody's meeting, so they go to the theater where because she earlier said he wanted to go to see a scary movie, so then some of this Blob just goes on a rampage in the theater, just grabbing everybody left and right, And then when Shawnee Smith gets there, she sure as falls and sees this old lady there, She lifts her up, and just parts of her face is like this. Part of her face is this guy's like well, I wouldn't say that melted off, but it peels off against stuck to the floor, And she gets her brother and his friend here and his friend. They get down to the sewer. And then it cuts where Kevin Dillion is seeing the guys. They live in the meteor, and they find that the guy, Dr. Meadows, he tells him that this thing was like man-made. I was like, this is such a fascinating experiment, you know. Um, then he gets caught, you know, because he learns that a girl and two children are in the sewers, and the doctor says they're expendable. So he gets chased by the contamination people, and he finally manages to jump over that broken bridge that he didn't earlier. And then as soon as he does, he gives him the middle finger, flips him off, and he heads into the sewers. And then it cuts back to the sewers where, you know, Shawnee Smith and the two kids. It's like, watch out for the rats. What rats? Then it sucks in a rat. Then as they're trying to climb a pole, the kid's friend, he gets taken. So okay, it kills a kid, you know. Just like, okay, it kills a kid. That was just like pretty another creepy thing. How he pops back up. He's like, you know, like his face is all being, his face is being dissolved just for the quick second, and back into the water. Okay, it kills a kid. Okay, cool, you know. And then when she tries to climb up, she comes in, and you see how this thing like it shapes itself, you know, like into a mouth, you know. It's like this scene, like where my thumb is. Yeah, it's that scene right there. And then a couple of contamination guys are there. It takes a couple of them, and then Kevin Dillion arrives, and they get back on the motorcycle and they drive away, but it's a dead end, and they see the blob up ahead of them. So he rides all the way up the wall and goes around the blob, and then when the motorcycle works no good anymore, so they walk away. They come across an injured worker. I think it's played the injured worker who's injured. I think it's played by Bill Moseley. I think that's Bill Moseley. Because his face looked familiar, and I think, yeah, I think that's Bill Moseley. And they try to go to the manhole, but they cover it up with a vehicle, and he gets in. Kevin Dillion, because the guy is carrying a bazooka, and he takes it, and he's like, okay, Meadows, you want to listen to me? Listen to this, and shoots it. Good. And it causes the explodes the van, and they get out of it. And he gets Fly gets one of the guns that tells him that it's all a lie, and it was man-made. And then the deputies tell him to drop it, and Dr. Meadows is telling this other guy here to shoot him, because he's infected, you know, he'll spread the disease, you know. And he's telling Kevin Dill's like, I'll tell you how that meter is man-made. It was some kind of germ war test they fucked up, you know. And then the Blob's tentacles grabs the doctor and drags him in. And I thought it was like how creepy it was. Like he's hanging on, and then all of a sudden you see the Blob just like goes inside his suit and just blocks out his face like this. I was like, oh man, that's a way to die. You know, you see your suit just get filled up with the Blob inside, and you see his face just get dissolved right in front of us. You know, that was a creepy scene. Just how his face gets like covered up by the Blob. And then but then the other guy, he is mad. He gets they shoot at, and they drop a bomb, and then the ground starts to shake. He's like, what's happening? And then I really love this line. This is like the best line in the entire film. Kevin Dill's like, I think you pissed it off. I just really love that line. That's like by far the best line in the film. He says that. I think you pissed it off. And then all of a sudden it just bursts right off the street as a giant, way bigger than usual. And then if a guy tries to pop his grenades in the belt, but it didn't go off, it just slams right on top of him. And it's like it causes glasses break in, and then this next shot though, I could tell it's like a little bit, you know, there, you know, like when Kevin Dillion is running is right in front of the Blob, and you see the Blob in the back. I can tell that it's like how do you put it? How is it called? When this is like the background with the Blob, and then you just add all of a sudden you just add Kevin Dillion image right there, you know. There was it was like a grain shot, you know. I think that's how it's called. I think that's what it is. Like all of a sudden you just add that part of Kevin Dillon that one shot, and then he goes off, and that was it. I don't know how you said it. I think it was called like a grain shot. I think how you just had to burst it into this one scene in there. But that was like a small nitpick though. But that's not bothering whatsoever. So then now the Blob's just running through this rampaging through the streets, just picking up people. Even at one point, at one point, just smacks smacks a person flat. You know, as he lifts up, the guy is like all flat is now as flat as a pancake. Just swats the guy like a fly, and he's as flat as a pancake on the top on the Blob. So this thing really has a really interesting way of killing people. You know. That's why I love about how it did things way different than the original. Has the thing how it's like the original Blob is like it's a slow moving piece of jello. That's how people describe it nowadays. Of the original Blob, it's just a moving piece of jello. But the difference here of how this Blob was, it was much more than just a Blob. It's like more of more Blob. It's how Rambo Rap described it. I do agree. It's like he made it how Chuck Russell did. He made it more alive. That's what he said on the review. Which is like, oh, if you want how to describe it, that's how I describe it. I'll just take that little thing he said about it. Chuck Russell made this Blob more alive. This thing is alive because it got tentacles and it kills people in very interesting ways. You know, it's not like a just slow moving piece of jello like the original was. I do like the original, but I'm just describing the difference here. Yeah, so this Blob is more alive. That's how he put it. Chuck Russell made this thing more alive. You know, and then where like it shows how smart the Blob is because a person is using a flamethrower. It shows how smart he is. Just using one of the tentacles, just puts right into where the flamethrower is firing. Just puts its tentacle right there and causing the thing to explode, showing how smart this thing is. And then the thing gets the tank catches on fire, and it also burns the Reverend a bit, you know. And then Shawnee Smith uses the fire extinguisher, learning now he can't stand the cold. So everyone gets inside of City Hall, and they try to barricading the entrance, barricading the stuff, you know, using shells and stuff. And then you get Paul Crane's death, the deputy. Like, I think to me, a part of me thinks like I kind of felt sorry for him because part of me wanted him to live, but as he tell him to find some more fire extinguishers, CO2, one of the tentacles just grabs him and also just bends him in half, you know, snaps him in half like this, like this. Ow. You get the point, you know. There's no reason for me to say it, you know. It just bends him in half like you know. I'm not saying a wishbone. That's tearing apart. I'm doing a horrible job of describing it. I'm just but he just gets bent in half. That's it. There's no reason for me to show that. With the hand signals and all that. Just ignore that. Just say that he just got bent in half. You know, that's it. But anyway, that was like a terrible death in this game. Just bending in half like that as well. But it's plus that part of me wanted him to live, but it's an '80s film, so I didn't know. I wasn't even born yet, so by the time it was film made, so. And then Kevin Dillion, he gets his snow machine, you know, this truck, because earlier he talks about the person in the garage telling him, you know, maybe one day we'll use this we'll get snow here one day, you know. So he has this snowmaker truck, and he uses that, but then flips the truck over, and it covers up all of the truck though. But then Shawnee Smith, he gets grabs one of the bombs from a dead man, and then she starts shooting at it. Come on, you can do better than that. Showing she was like showing like how she's now like a strong person. And then she plants the bomb on one of the on the snow tanks, but she gets caught. But then Kevin Dillion helps gets her off, and then they run back and Shawnee Smith's character, her father, starts running out, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And it explodes all into these particle crystal pieces. And then it's like, hey, the guy, I think the guy's name was Moses. I think that was the guy's name. Is like, hey man, I told you to get snow. You just gotta have faith. So they call him they ask him to call him the dump truck, so they get to bring it to the ice house, refrigeration facility. And then it cuts to some time later, like the Reverend who's got badly burned. He's got all burn scars all over on half his face. He's like giving a seminar, and he goes in the back room, and a woman tells him when will happen, the day of reckoning. And he says, soon, madam, soon. The Lord will give me a sign. He's holding up the jar he had earlier, the melted crystal pieces now molten into one part of the blob, and then the film ends. To me, there was no point of showing that part though, but it was like probably setting up for a sequel, but there is no sequel because it's a remake. I just really love this film. That's what I say. I would consider one of the best horror film remakes. I would put it in my third or second favorite horror film remake. And that's pretty much the end of the film. So I really do love this film. It's sad that it's just a bare bones DVD, no special features. It's just trailers, and that's it. Like I said, I just want a DVD that shows more features, because this film is way. I don't know why this film gets forgotten, because maybe the film didn't do that well, but great cast and awesome, way beyond awesome special effects, way beyond awesome. This blob, how this blob was, even it says right here at the back of the cover how this film thing is more alive. It says right here, what was once only suggested now comes to life in this visually gut-wrenching thriller in the tradition of such classic remakes as The Thing and The Fly. Those I'll get to those remakes in the future, sometime down the road, and but I would say this is one of the great remakes from the 80s. It wasn't until they didn't start making every horror film in the 80s, unlike today, So, what more can I say? I really love this film. And by the way, I do have the poster hanging over here, so maybe let me quickly show you. There's the poster right there. So you can see a little bit better right there. So there's the poster over there. That's a really cool poster. Just a person lying there. The blob is on top of that person. Like I said before, excuse me, the Deep Rising poster. I would prefer that poster on the front cover than the other covers. Like I said, this is a cool cover too. How about that from this scene. But I also like to have that poster there on the DVD cover as well. Hiccup. So anyway, what to say? I do like the original Blob, because it was the only horror film that Stephen Queen ever starred in. May he rest in peace. But at the same time, I do love this film even more than the original, because it did things way bit differently, and the big differences between this and this, big differences. Better better casting. I always loved Kevin Dillion. I did like Shawnee Smith. I do like her performance better than the Saw films. This is my opinion. But um, um, Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont did great on the screenplay. Creature effects designed and created by Lyle Conway. Outstanding, really outstanding special effects. Really outstanding. I do give a way more than just a thumbs up. I would give every praise of it. Give every praise of these special effects because they look absolutely fantastic. And what's sad is this film just gets forgotten. Bare bones DVD should deserve more features. Not even a commentary, Not even a commentary with the director Chuck Russell or writer Frank Darabont or any of the actors. Just not even a commentary. No features of the making of the film. No interviews. No nothing. Just a trailer and that's it. And once again, it's sad that this film was a flop. This is really sad. Really sad. So anyway, once again, I really did enjoy that. I really did enjoy that review from Remake for Life. That hour-long review. Really do love that review. He did such a great job of it. We're all not alone in liking in films like this. Not alone whatsoever. Well, that's pretty much everything I have to say. So anyway, this is the Blob 1998 remake of the original film. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another horror film review. Later.